Okay, so rather than present stuff using slides, I thought I would just write up. I thought I would just write a PDF. I would just write my own notes and then just present off those. So recall that we were looking at dynamic programming in the last lecture. Whatever details we saw about the Fibonacci numbers, I have included in these notes as well, which I have uploaded to Moodle. We were looking at this longest common subsequence problem, and yeah, this is a complex problem, and I didn't spend enough time on this. We sort of hurried over all the details, so just I would like to just go over these things again. I have written out all the derivations in much more detail in this. Okay, so yeah, so as we saw in the last class, this LCS is a function that computes the length of the longest common subsequence, because the longest common subsequence itself need not be unique, but length of the length of such a subsequence is unique. Okay, by definition. Yeah. Okay, so length is unique. That is what we want to compute. For example, LCS of AGCAT and GACT is GCT. That is the longest common subsequence. That is one of the longest common subsequences. In this example, it happens to be the only one, and its length is 3. If you have this string LeBron James and Michael Jordan, the LCS value is 4, because the subsequence E space JA is the longest common subsequence. Okay, and the general idea is that LCS of x's and y's is 1 plus LCS of tail of x's and tail of y's if head of x is equal to head of y's. Otherwise, you do LCS of x's and tail of y's first, LCS of tail of x's and y's separately, and then you take the max value between the two. Okay. Okay, great. Fine. So this can be directly transcribed into Haskell as follows. Yeah, LCS is a function with string arrow, string arrow, string. If the first string is empty and the second string is anything, then the length of the longest common subsequence is 0. If the second string is empty, then again it is 0. If the first string is some x followed by x prime and second string is y followed by y prime, then sorry, it shouldn't be a equal to b. This should be, I'll correct this. This should be x equal to y. Yeah, because of various copy paste, I made a mistake here. If x is the same as y, then you do 1 plus LCS of x prime and y prime. Otherwise, you do max of LCS of x prime y's and LCS of x y prime. Clear so far? Yes. Anybody?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So good.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll proceed. So, but so what do you think is the problem with this definition?
The same string, the same recursive call is made more than one.
Right. Exactly. No, multiple times, and they will so I mean, if two recursive calls are made, if the same recursive call is made twice, that is fine. But that recursive call will make its own recursive call twice, and this thing will proliferate and it will become exponential in no time at all. Okay, so that is the problem. We do have a solution that works in time order m times n, as you see here. Where m and n are the lengths of the two strings. But as I mentioned in the last class, rather than just present the solution directly, I'll derive it in a series of steps, so that you are not, so that it is not, a major exercise trying to determine why the final program works. It works because we have started with the original program and kept transforming it step by step. Okay, as I mentioned here, this is an important technique for designing programs. Okay, this is an important technique for designing programs. Why? What is this? Start with an obviously correct program which might perhaps be inefficient, and modify it in a series of steps to arrive at an efficient solution. This can be done in other programming languages too, but in Haskell, this modifying it in a series of steps actually is more foolproof, because you can sort of derive the program by just doing some simple equation by some logical reasoning using equations. Okay, and yes, and the core idea at obtaining efficiency is that you will store the list of all the values computed. Okay. 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 So the first modification, if you recall, that we made was that instead of specifying the program in terms of head and tail, we'll specify it in terms of init and last. Init, remember, is the whole list except the last element, and last is the last element. Okay. So again, you say LCS of empty string and anything is 0. LCS of anything and empty string is 0. LCS of x's and y's, if x is equal to y, then 1 plus LCS of x's prime and y's prime. Else max of LCS x's prime y's, LCS of x's y's prime. The same thing as earlier, except that x's prime x is the init and last of x's, and y's prime y is init of y's and last of x's. Okay, the same thing as earlier, instead except that instead of using head and tail, we are using init and last. Okay, great. Now suppose you define okay, so given this definition, what do you think you can say about LCS of, so fix, so this is the important thing. You, for the rest of the thing, you want to fix an A's of length m and B's of length n. Okay, you want to fix this, okay, and do everything in terms of this. Okay, so your ultimate call is to do LCS of A's, B's, but we will do it in a series of steps. So for now, fix A's of length m and B's of length n. Now, if both A's and B's are non-empty, and let's say I and j are greater than 0, then you can apply this definition here, this LCS x's y's, on LCS take I A's and take I B's. Okay, take I A's and take j B's. Okay, this is what I'm doing. And if you expand the definition, what will happen is that LCS take I A's, take j B's. Remember, you have to compare the head of the two lists, and sorry, you want to compare the last element in both the lists, and if you have a list of length m, let us say, what are the positions? 0, 1, 2, ... m minus 1. Suppose you do take I of this, then what all elements will, so let's say this is I. Yeah, so take I will return what all elements?
0 to I minus 1.
Yes, all the elements from 0 to I minus 1. Yes, all these elements will be returned. This is take I of the list. So let's say the list is S. So what will be the last element of take I of S?
I minus 1.
Exactly. Last of take I of S will be S I minus 1. So instead of saying last init etc. that we do here, you directly get A's I minus 1, A's at I minus 1. Similarly, you get B's at j minus 1. Okay, so this is one step. Then you do as usual. Then 1 plus LCS of take I minus 1 S, because that is the init. Okay, init of take I is take I minus 1 S. Okay, and take j minus 1 B is else max of these things. Okay, is this clear? Is this equation clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Now, therefore, now what we will do is we'll instead of saying take I, LCS of take IAS, take JBs, we will call it Fij. Okay, Fij, by Fij we mean LCS of take IAS, take JBs. Okay, and we can do this for every I from 0 to M and every J from 0 to M. Okay, and if we do this, then you see that your LCS value that you want, LCS of ASBs, is nothing but F of Mn, because this is nothing but F of Mn. If you want to expand, is nothing but LCS of take M of As, take N of As, which is nothing but LCS of take N of Bs, which is nothing but LCS of ASBs, right? Because As is of length M and Bs is of length N. Okay. Good. So now just defining this as usual, F0 empty list is saying F and take 0 of As. Take 0 of As is empty string, in which case we know that the definition should return 0. Similarly, if anything 0 means LCS of something and take 0 of Bs, which is the empty string. So you should again get 0. So these two cases are clear. And Fij, I'm just rewriting the earlier thing. Fij is if As at I minus 1 is equal to Bs at J minus 1, then 1 plus F of I minus 1 J minus 1. Right? Because you have take I minus 1 As and take J minus 1 Bs. The same thing I'm writing here as F of I minus 1 J minus 1. Otherwise, you do F of I minus 1 J and max it with F of I and J minus 1. Okay? Is this version clear? Right? And this is a much simpler looking recursion. And what we'll do is to be able to help us with some later manipulation. We'll introduce what you call a helper function, G. Okay, a helper function is nothing. It is just rewriting an existing function in some other form so that it is better to reason about the program. So again, you write F of 0, anything is 0, F of anything 0 is 0. F of Ij is, instead of saying all this, you write G applied to As at I minus 1, Bs at J minus 1, and this triple. Okay, why do I write it as a triple? Because ultimately I want to be able to do some kind of zip and zip width and so on. Zip I can do zip 3. Okay, so and collect 3 things together. I don't know if there is a zip 4. Zip will zip together 2 lists. Zip 3 will zip together 3 lists. But zip width will only work with 2 lists. Okay, so you have some function that works with some 5 different parameters, but you can only if you want to do a zip width, you can only give it 2 lists. Okay, which is why we do a little bit of mild manipulation. And in any case, the same thing, this thing, whatever is here, we rewrite as follows. Fij is G of A's at I minus 1, B's at J minus 1, and this triple. Fi minus 1 J minus 1, Fi minus 1 J, Fi J minus 1. Okay. And what do you mean by G? G is exactly expanding this definition. So G, A, B, and the triple DUL will is just saying if A is equal to B, then 1 plus D, else max of U and L. And as I mentioned in the last class, D stands for diagonal entry left up. U stands for up entry. L stands for left entry. We'll see what it all means, because we are now going to, now you have a 2-dimensional kind of structure. That is what this up, left, etc. means. You can imagine writing it out as a matrix, but a matrix is in Haskell is a list of lists. So each list corresponds to a row. So we'll look at the rows first. Okay. So the point is that even after all these, so note this is to be highlighted. Even after all these manipulations, you have not made any dent in the running time, because we have just rewritten our original program in some other form. This F function again suffers from the same problems that your original LCS function suffers from, namely wasteful recomputation, making the same recursive call with the same arguments again and again and again. Okay. Okay. So just like with fib, now we will try to store every value in a row in one list and then we'll store every list, every row in a bigger list, which is a list of lists, and then hopefully, then the kind of efficiencies that fib displayed, you can show here too. Okay, good. So let's look at. We'll define Ri to be Fij. All the Fij values. Okay, all the Fij values meaning for j less than or equal to n. Okay, in other words, so R0 is f of 0j, j ranging from 0 to n, which is nothing but replicate n plus 1 times 0. Okay, it's nothing but 0 repeated n plus 1 times. N plus 1 times because you are counting, you are going to add 1 0 to the list for every number between 0 and n, and there are n plus 1 numbers between 0 and 1, including both endpoints. So you are replicating 0 n plus 1 times. Okay, so replicate, if you want to know, is side note. Okay, it suffices to say that you want to do okay. So that's all. Okay, great. Now what about Ri for I greater than 0? For I greater than 0. Okay, Ri is nothing but Fij, j ranging from 0 to n, but that is nothing but Fi0 followed by Fij, where j ranges from 1 to n, right? Because Fi0 you have taken out. Okay, but what is Fi0? We know that f anything 0 is 0 in our original definition. Okay, so I can rewrite that as 0 followed by Fij, where j ranges from 1 to n. But what is Fij where j ranges from 1 to n? Again, here I know, when I come here, I know that when I come here, I know that I greater than 0, j also greater than 0. So I am in the third case of my f definition, and that says that this is g applied to a is at I minus 1, b is at j minus 1, and this triple fi minus 1, j minus 1, fi minus 1, j, fi j minus 1. Okay, j ranging from 1 to n. Okay. Now this R is defined in terms of f, and we want to remove the dependence on f in Ri, and for that we will use the 3 library functions. Just to occupy space in my note, I have written down the definition of all these 3 functions. This is straightforward. Zipwidth will take 2 lists and apply a function on each corresponding element of the 2 lists. Okay, so zipwidth of f and x colon x's y colon y is x f applied to x and y followed by zipwidth of f x's y's. Okay, so that is the crucial case. Similarly, here this is the crucial case, zip. Okay, and then zip3 will actually do this thing for 3 things. The actual definition in the library might not be this. I do not know. You have to go and check. But I am just, this is the behavior. Okay, good. The most important point is that you can apply these functions on lists of unequal lengths. Okay, but what will happen? The processing stops as soon as you reach the end of one of the lists. Okay, so this is the crucial point. Now, okay, so now based on that observation, I have tried to lay out these lists in such a manner that you see where each element ends, etc., etc. Okay, so R I minus 1, remember, is so. Okay, so for simplicity, let me say that Ui means f of I minus 1. Uj means f of I minus 1j. Okay, so note here, Uj means f of I minus 1j. Vj means f of I minus 1 ij. Yeah. I'll correct this. Okay. So uj stands for fi minus 1j, vj stands for fij. This is just to make my whatever this explanation look clearer. Okay. So now if you assume that, then ri minus 1 is nothing but u naught, u1, u2, whatever till un. Okay. And tail of ri minus 1 is u1, u2, u3 dot un, but I am lining them up. Finally, I am going to do some zip on these three things. So I am lining up the corresponding elements. So u1 stands, when I do zip 3, I'll be doing something on u0 and u1. Okay. So these are lined up. Finally, ri, which is the fij, is nothing but v0, v1, v2 dot vn. Okay, because ri is nothing but all the fij values, but fij I'm calling it as vj. Okay, so is this clear? Is this
Yes, sir.
clear? Yeah, I have also lined up these lists. So having lined up these lists in this manner, if I do a zip 3 on them, then what I'm doing is I'm actually doing a zip 3 on these lists. Okay, u0 dot till un, u1 till un, and that is lined up like this. Okay, so it is like shifting. It to the left a little. Okay, it is like shifting it to the left. Okay, and v0, v1 dot vn. Okay, this is what I have. This is my zip 3 of ri minus 1, tail of ri minus 1 or ra. Okay, and this should give me, this is the important point. There are n plus 1 values here, n values here, and n plus 1 values here. The result will be just n values. Okay, this is the important point. Okay, and I'm going to call the result. So zip 3 will just take these three things and form triples, corresponding triples. So I'm just going to call them, for the purposes of this picture, I'm going to call them W1, W2, etc. Where each Wj, remember, is these, some an arbitrary Wj is something where you line up these things. Okay? If I'm lining them up, I might as well shade them. Okay? I am lining up these things and forming this thing. So therefore, the therefore Wi in general, Wj in general will be this thing. This triple. Okay. Sorry. Wj will be this triple. Okay. Instead of Wn is that. Wn is that shaded triple, therefore Wj is this. Okay, for each. Is this clear? Yeah, I'm just using the fact that zip will cut out at the end, whatever remains in the one. Yeah. So Srimati, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So don't think I'm picking on you. I mean,
No.
most of the people are like, whatever, video is off, and I can only see 4 names because that is the way I've set it up. Yours is on top. Okay, great. So if this point is clear, then let us get back and just persist more. Ri, now let me try to rewrite Ri. Ri is, let me get back to Ri. So this was a sort of an interlude about zip 3. Zip 3 is doing these triples basically. I wanted these triples, and if I do zip 3, I will get a whole list of those triples. Okay. Now Ri, if you look at, will be G of A, B is at j minus 1, and then this U j minus 1, Uj, Vj minus 1. Okay, so instead of writing it as this f of ij, etc., I'm using this shorthand which I have just now introduced, the u's and the v's. So u at j minus 1, u at j, v at j minus 1, because that is f of I minus 1 j, f of I minus 1 j minus 1, right? F of I minus 1 j, f of I j minus 1. That I am writing it here as u j minus 1, u j, and v j minus 1. Okay. But now, for all j ranging from 1 to n. But now this is nothing but in my shorthand this wj. Is it wj or wj minus 1? Wj, that is right. This is nothing but wj. Okay. So this whole thing becomes wj. Okay. Now, okay. So this now things have become much more simplified. Okay. Rather than thinking of g as being a function on some 5 things, now I am thinking of g as a function on some 3 things: a, b as j minus 1, and wj. Of these 3 things, a is fixed. Okay. So you can think of it as, sorry, you can think of this as so g of a, b is at j minus 1. And wj is nothing but ga, g applied to a and the result applied to b as j minus 1 and wj. Okay, but then I am considering the whole list, right? J ranging from 1 to n. So this is the same list. But now I can do zip with. Okay, this is some, every corresponding element in 2 lists I have to do something, so I can do zip with. What am I doing zip with? The function is g applied to a. It's a partially applied function. So I'm saying it is nothing but ri is 0 colon whatever, which is nothing but 0 colon zip width of ga applied to bs. Why is it bs? Because what is this? You can write this as ds of j such that j ranges from 0 to n minus 1. Right? Sorry, if you think there is too much written here, sorry. I'll add a new page because this is just some. I'll add a new page. This page icon. So what I'm saying is that is it visible? Yes, it is visible. So g of g of a. What is a? We didn't say what is a. Yeah. A is actually a is whatever. But any a, okay. G of a, and then b is at j minus 1. Okay, this is what we started with, right? And we said, this is nothing but is this clear? Yeah, because if you evaluate this, you will get that. Is this equation clear?
So I didn't understand how we are using
Because
G.
what if you do zip width of this, then what will you get? You will get GA, BS, J minus 1, WJ, G. I mean, yeah. So let us, if you want to do it in more detail, I'll do it. One second. What is this? This I can write as GA, BS 0, W1, comma, GA, BS 1, W2. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but when this is nothing but zip width of GA applied on two lists. What are the two lists?
One is
BS at
BS.
0, BS at 1, dot, 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 BS at n minus 1. And the other is W1, W2, dot, dot, dot. Is this clear?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I understood.
Yeah, you understood? But
Hmm.
now, but notice that if I'm doing zip width, the lengths can differ, right? Here the lengths are the same, but the lengths can differ, right? So I might as well put, oh, right. This is that's all there is. Okay, so BS 0 to whatever BS n minus 1 is what? It's nothing but BS. Okay, so therefore I will get that this whole thing is, so this part here, if I can change color, this part here is nothing but BS. Right? It is BS 0, BS 1, BS 2, all the way till BS n minus 1. That is nothing but BS.
Yes, sir.
Piece. Okay. So therefore, finally, what? So the original expression can therefore be written as zip width of G applied to A of B's and then this W1 dot 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 till Wn.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right? Good. But what is this W1 dot 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 Wn? That is nothing but, as we have established, if you go back all the way here, this is nothing but W1 dot 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 Wn is nothing but zip of Ri minus 1, tail of Ri minus 1, Ri. Okay. So Ri equals, so if you go back to our original thing, Ri equals 0 followed by this, which is nothing but 0 followed by this, which is nothing but 0 followed by zip width of all this, which is nothing but 0 followed by this, which is nothing but 0 followed by zip width of GA applied on B's and zip 3 of Ri minus 1, tail of Ri minus 1, and then Ri. Yes. So this is the, now finally we have established an equation for Ri which does not refer to F. This is the crucial thing. Okay. This is the crucial, okay, progress we have made. That you have an equation for Ri which does not refer to F. And namely that is this. Okay. Ri equals, maybe I'll use a different color. Ri is the same as, so just follow the colors. Ri is the same as 0 followed by zip width of GA applied on B's and this whole zip. Yeah, we have just established that. Now, right. So now we'll abstract it a little further. We'll say that, so instead of writing this whole gargantuan thing all the time, we will abstract from it. All we are doing is given Ri minus 1, I can get Ri. Okay. So given any R and given any A, I can get, in fact, this A should be A's at I minus 1. So given any letter A, given any character A and any R, I can form an next row. Okay. And so basically then I have the following definition for R. R 0 is replicate n plus 1 of 0. N plus 1 times replicate 0. Ri is the same expression. Instead of writing it that way, I am abstracting it out and I'm writing it as the next row function applied on A is I minus 1 and R I minus 1. Yeah, where next row is nothing but this expression. Next row is I'm missing something. It should be 0 followed by. Yeah? here there should be a 0 colon. If somebody has a question on chart, please ask me. Oh my God, how can I repeat? I just know. So what do you not follow? Tell me, Apratham. I'll go ahead if you don't understand something, please. So do you understand this equation RI equals?
Sir, I was having some network issues. Your
That is
video,
all fine.
video
That is
and
fine.
audio.
But do you understand this now? This RI equals 0 colon zip with whatever.
Yeah, I do understand that. Yes.
Okay, because I just worked it out here. What I'll do is I don't know. I have the lecture posted on Moodle. I'll also upload these class notes as Moodle. Whatever scribbling here is there. Hopefully you can figure out based on the extra stuff I've written there. Okay, so here, so here there should be a 0 colon here. Okay. I'll edit it. Okay. Okay, so computing the next row given a character and given a row is what? Is this simple thing? Is this expression is zip width of GA B's zip width, apply GA on B's and then zip 3 of R Taylor. But remember that when you want to define RI, you have a recursive reference to itself. RI here is RI here. Okay, so RI is what? Next row of A RI minus 1. So at this position, instead of RI minus 1, wherever RI should occur, you should write next row of A RI minus 1, which is the same as saying here, because we are abstracting this out. The same, you see that the same next row AR and the next row AR repeat here. Okay, this corresponds to RI using itself as part of its definition. Okay, so here there is RI and the same RI repeats here. So next row AR is do whatever with the previous row and then along with the current row. Okay, the current row is the next row function applied on the previous one. So now, if this is clear, then I can go to the last step.
So
Yes.
So in this function, when you do next row AR,
Yeah.
so here R refers to R of I minus 1.
No, R does not always refer to R of I minus 1. No, it could refer to R0, R1, R2, R3 in
So
general.
when you're doing Ri, then the R refers
Yeah,
to
when
R
I'm
of
doing
I.
Ri, so that is right. That is why I'm saying Ri minus.
But in the previous one, in the one which you highlighted in red, so in Ri, so the last term of the zip3 is also Ri.
No, but remember that this is not the last term. No, I'm doing the next row function. I am applying it on all this. Okay, so let me get back here. Okay, so this requires explanation. I'll explain it. Okay, Ri is nothing but 0 followed by zip width of. Let me assume that it is just A. Okay, some A that is given to you.
So the first expression for zip width is usually the of operation, right? That we want to perform between the two lists. So how is this GA notation denoting that?
Once more.
The first argument in G zip width is the operation that has to be performed from one list over another, like plus or.
G is a function which takes 3 arguments. Okay, so you do G on A, then that will consume 1 argument, and then you do it on 2 lists. G is a function.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah, is it clear?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Right. So G is a function that takes 3 arguments. 1 character, another character, and a triple of integers. Okay. Now this BSJ minus the BS list will give you 1 character after another.
Yes, sir.
That is a list of triples from which you get a triple. Okay. Fine. So now coming back to this, Ri, as we have just now established, is 0 followed by zip width of GA on B's, and then this zip 3 of R I minus 1 tail of R. Now I'm not doing anything fancy. I want to write this whole expression here. I want to write as some function applied on A and B's. Okay. In fact, here it is A is at I minus 1. Okay. Now I want to express this as 0 followed by some function applied on A as I minus 1 and B's. Okay. So what would that function be? That is the function I am calling next row. Ri is nothing but 0 followed by the next row function applied on A's I minus 1 and R I minus 1. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. Yes. Okay. If I have to write it this way, then what will next row be? This is just a reverse engineering. Whoever asked this question about last term being. So next row I have to define, right? It is in my power to define next row. So what will I define next row to be? I'll take this A at I minus 1 as A and R I minus 1 as R. Okay. Those are the two parameters. I have to define next row. What will I do? Wherever I see R I minus 1, I'll put it as R. Wherever I see A as I minus 1, I'll make it A. Okay. So if I do it, what will happen? It will become 0 followed by zip width of G of A on B's and zip 3 of R tail of R and then R of I. I would like to eliminate this reference to R of I. How do I do it? Oh, that is simple. All I do is the Ri is nothing but this next row. Sure.
So this is what I was asking. It.
One second.
I think the 0 colon wasn't there.
Yeah. That's what I'm just checking. Ri is not 0 followed by this thing, but Ri is just Ri is just next row of AR. Okay, no 0. No, this is fine. Instead here I should just say it is next row. And then this is fine. So now what is Ri? Ri is next row of A's I minus 1, Ri minus 1. So instead of writing Ri here, I could just write next row of AR because that is what I have supplied here. Okay.
Sir?
Yes, please ask.
No, I mean, I don't understand why we are introducing a new function here. Like, is it
the reason we are introducing a new function is that, okay, so when you define Ri from Ri minus 1, okay, you are freely using the words Ri, you are freely using Ri minus 1, Ri, etc. in the definition, but we want to be able to generalize this. This is for a fixed I and an I minus 1, but we want to be able to do it for all I's. Okay. So how do you get R1? You get R1 from, okay, so let me write it, okay, let me actually write it in a way that will make it even clearer. Okay, just give me a minute, I'll write it. Okay. Okay, so we are here, right? So let me just do it. Okay, so let us just R0 is what? It is so many zeros. Keep it aside. R1 is what? R1 is 0 followed by zip width of is 0. Is it clear? Just instantiating. Ri is defined in terms of Ri minus 1, so R1 is defined in terms of R0 and R1 itself. What is R2? Same old thing, right? So you do 0, give a space. Goes on like this, right? Now
Yeah.
I need to finally be able to do this R0 for this Ri for every I from 0 to M. We need to compute. Yes. So I need to keep on repeating this. So instead of repeating this, I will find a common pattern and do this. Okay. And the common pattern I wrote was Ri, etc., etc. But another way of writing this is to say that, okay, Ri is the next row function applied on As I minus 1 and Ri minus 1. So the point is, look at what is the only thing that is changing in this. Okay, Bs is the same in everywhere. Bs is here, the Bs is here. Okay, then As at 0 is there, As at 1 is there. So that is changing. What is the other thing that is changing? If it is R1, then it should be R0, R1. If it is R2, it should be R1, R2. So that is changing. Okay. So only those things that are changing, make them parameters and introduce it as a new function. Okay. And we will see why it is useful in a minute. Okay. So you can therefore define your next row function as this. Ri is next row function applied on As at I minus 1 and R I minus 1, where next row is just extract the common pattern in all this. What is this? That is 0 followed by zip width of A, zip width of GA applied on B's and zip 3 of R Taylor. We wanted to do something that does not mention I. This is really the point. You want to do something that does not mention I. Okay. But when you do not mention I, when R stands for Ri minus 1, what gives you Ri? It is next row of AR. Okay. Okay. This is what gives you. Next row of As I minus 1, Ri minus 1. But then we have applied that here. So you will just say it is the local definition. So you can just say this. Okay. So you can try to think about it. Okay. Because all you need to do is you need to substitute it. So one way to check the correctness of this equation is that if you substitute As I minus 1 and Ri minus 1 here, what will happen? Next row of is nothing but 0 followed by zip width of and here you have next row of As at I minus 1, Ri minus 1, but that is nothing but Ri by definition. Okay. So this last thing, this thing will actually become next row of As at I minus 1, Ri minus 1 when you substitute. Okay. But then that is nothing but Ri as we have defined it. So yeah. So that is what this establishes the correctness of your definition. And let me get back therefore. Okay.
So one last thing.
Yes.
So this thing will terminate in the first place because of lazy evaluation.
No, who's asking it?
So this is Romit.
Okay. Yes.
So it's going to terminate because of this 0 in the front.
Yeah. Right. Just like with fib, because there is some first value you provide and then you want to do something. Yeah, right. What you say is true. Okay. Similarly, we want to compute a list of lists in terms of itself, and then that will also terminate because you are providing the first row initially, and that is what we are doing. So now we will do one more step. Okay. The next step is to because we have to compute m rows. What we'll do is we'll store it. So rather than every time we need something, we'll refer to the previous row, etc. We'll store all the rows, okay, in one shot, and that is done by this definition. LCS tab is Ri, where I goes from I to m. Okay, each of these rows we store in a list, so that will give you the matrix. But this is nothing but R0 followed by next row applied to A is I minus 1 and R I minus 1, where I ranges from 1 to m. Okay, but what is that A? Okay, so now instead of I ranging from 1 to m, you can take it as I ranging from 0 to m minus 1, and because here you are only referring to I minus 1, so you can shift indices, and then you can say that the same thing is nothing but next row of A is I and then Ri. Okay, where I ranges from 0 to m minus 1. Okay, but all these A's I, where I ranges from 0 to m minus 1 is nothing but A's. Okay, and Ri, where I ranges from 0 to m minus 1 is nothing but init of LCS tab, because LCS tab, remember, is Ri, where I goes from 0 to m. Here you want Ri, I going from 1 to m minus 1, that is init of LCS tab. So, okay, you put this, you get this. But now instead of saying init of LCS tab, you might as well say LCS tab. Why? Because if you recall, this thing, let me change color again. This A is of length m, and this is of length m plus 1. When you zip with something of length m and m plus 1, it will automatically, it will only take the init portion. Okay, so you don't need to write init. You can just say LCS tab, because the way zip with works, it will ignore the last element of LCS tab when it does the zip with. Okay, so this is your ultimate definition. So now you have LCS tab equals R0 followed by zip width of next row A's LCS tab. Okay, finally you achieved your holy grail, which is this very tight kind of loop, self loop. So you are defining a list in terms of itself, but it all works out because Haskell is lazy. And anyway, finally, all you want is you want the note that LCS ASBs is nothing but f of mn, as we observed long ago. But what is m? M is the length of m is the number of rows. So this is this is the, and n is the number of elements in each row. Sorry, n plus 1 is the number of elements in each row. So if you want the element at index n, you will do last of Rm. But Rm itself is the last row, so that is the last of LCS tab. Okay, LCS tab is a list of lists. Last of that will give you a row. Last of that will give you an element. Okay, so finally, your definition, you have this. Okay, this is your glorious definition. Yes. So LCS ASBs is nothing but last of LCS tab, where LCS tab itself is first row followed by the subsequent rows, but you compute that by saying zip width of next row function on A's and LCS tab. So that will give you each row. Oh, what is the next row function? Next row function, okay, first row is nothing but replicate length BS plus 1 times 0. Next row function will on A and R, it will do this standard thing that we mentioned earlier. And what is G? G is finally that thing that we long back told about. G of AB DUL is, if A equals B, then 1 plus D else maximum. Okay, so we've done all this and arrived there. Okay.
Sir, so how did we avoid the same recursive call that was present before, sir?
Right. So for this, you have to go back, and I'm not explaining that. You have to draw these graphs, etc. At any point of time, you have a, so your next row function will compute row after row, and each of those row functions you can, just like you did with fib, you can analyze that. You can come once you have determined the previous row, you can determine each element of the row, because each element of the row is given just by this, right? So you do a zip3 of R, tail R, next row AR, etc., etc. So you are storing all the elements and you are referring back to them whenever you need.
Okay.
You're storing everything in the list. That is why you are avoiding the wasteful recursiveness. Okay, because everything is stored, except that it is not stored like in a traditional programming language. You are storing it in a list, and in a list you have to. So in a list in general, you have to, first of all, there is no notion of storing and then retrieving. Okay, so you have to sort of do it along with your computation. Okay, so the way to do it is to pass around lists. So we are trying to build one list, yeah, which is a list of lists, and we are doing it row after row, and it works.
Okay.
Yes, and yeah, so right, and this, not only the length, we can also now compute one witness subsequence that witnesses the fact that these two strings have a common subsequence of that length. And the way to do it is that whenever you update the length, you always keep a witness string also with you, a witness subsequence. And whenever you update the length of the common subsequence, you also update that. Okay. The only optimization I've done is that you will store. So if a new character, you determine that it will belong to the longest common subsequence, and you want to add it to a, so you will always have a candidate till now. So you will determine LCS of take IAs, take JBs, and then you are going to a larger number. Okay, or think about it this way: you already determined LCS of take I-1 A's, take J-1 B's, and you have done various computation. Now you are determining LCS of take IAs and take JBs. Right? So the recursive subcomputations that you have made, they would have provided you with numbers earlier. Now think of them as providing you with a number as well as a string. The string represents a common subsequence. Okay, and now when you find that your last character in both matches, you will have to add the last character to the end of the common subsequence. But adding to the end means using a plus plus. So what I do in this program is that I am storing it in reverse by using colon, and finally I will reverse the result and present it. Okay, so basically what I am doing is in this GA function, I'll assume that instead of all the entries are pairs. The first part of the pair is a number, second part is a string. So this D entry is also a pair, M S prime. Okay, and this UL are themselves pairs. Okay, so what I'm doing is, if A is equal to B, then I'm doing 1 plus M and B put in front of S prime. Okay, because B is a common letter that can, B is a letter that can extend the common subsequence that you have determined till now. Okay, but rather than putting it at the end, I'm putting it at the beginning, and which is why I will, when I ultimately return the result, I am returning the reverse of S. Okay, where S is the result of last of LCS. N is the number, N is the length, S is the reverse of the common subsequence, not the common subsequence, some common subsequence of that length. Okay, so this is the only change I need to do. Okay, when I go and do this here, I'll do this 1 plus M and B colon S prime. Otherwise, I'll just take, if first of U is greater than first of L, because you have to check U and L are both pairs. Okay, so you should check the first of U, which is the length part, against first of L, which is the length part. If so, then you take U, else you take L. Okay, so this is the yeah. So I'm writing it this way rather than writing max of etc. Just do something on pairs. Okay, so this completely this completes your least common subsequence thing. So what I'll do is I'll add these class nodes to the Moodle page, and I'll also update the write-up I have written by correcting a few errors that I have here and there. Okay, good. So now what I'll do is I'll take some I don't know, I'll take till 3:30, and what I'll do is I'll now stop sharing my iPad screen and I'll go to my laptop.
So,
yes.
Just a small question. I didn't understand reverse here. Could you just say that once? How
Okay, I'll say it once. I'll go to the laptop and say it. Okay. Stop sharing. Okay, let me start sharing my. You can see my Xcode, right? With lots of junk. I'll comment out everything. I have a lot of. Okay, now I'll take two strings. You're able to see the place where I'm writing the code, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I want to return an integer which represents the length of the longest common subsequence, length of a longest common subsequence, and some string that has that length, which is also a subsequence. Okay, so now LCS of I'm just doing the naive recursion now. LCS of empty list and 0 is nothing but now length you have to give and also the common subsequence. Okay, 0 empty list you have to give. LCS of anything an empty string will be 0 is the length of the longest common subsequence and empty string is the longest common subsequence. Okay, good. So now LCS access. Okay, so what do I do? You say if x is equal to y, then you want to definitely include the first character. Okay, okay, and then you want to say do LCS of both tails. That is what you want to say. Okay, but now if you do LCS of both tails, so normally you would write 1 plus LCS of x's y's. X's prime y's prime, but you can't do that here. You will get an error because LCS of x's prime y's prime will give you a pair. Okay, a length and a string. Okay, so now therefore instead what you should say is that if x is this thing, then let's say you would say that then 1 plus m x or y is prime. Yeah. Else, what do? You do whatever we do here. Max of right. So normally you do okay. So let me just do it here. Let me just put a if then something else something. I'll put L then 0 comma empty string. I mean, this is not the actual result. I'm just writing this so that I can complete what I want to say and then I'll come back and fill this. Okay. You want to do the recursive subcomputations, right? The recursive subcomputations are all now pairs. Okay. So now you will say that m prime s prime is, I don't know what you want to call it.
So can't we split it up into first and second?
Yeah, you can do that. But then if you split it up into first and second, then you are making two calls. You see, you will be making two recursive calls and then you will be once doing a recursive call and doing first and then doing a recursive call and then doing second.
Okay. Yeah.
You should always avoid it by doing where and then putting this thing. Yes. So where I don't know, I'll say m naught s naught equals LCS of x's prime y's prime. M1 s1 equals LCS of x's prime x's y's prime. Doesn't matter. Okay. So now, if x is equal to y, what will you return?
So you want to return 1 plus m naught.
And then x goes to the front. So y colon x or y, both are the same. Y colon s naught. Okay, that is what you want to return.
Yeah.
Right? Else, what do you do? Else, you don't really need to do much. Else, what do you do? If okay, so instead of this, I'll write this as a guarded command. In the case where x is equal to y, then you do okay, then you do this. Otherwise, now what do? You want to compare between M1 and M2. Okay, if M1 is less than M2, if M1 is greater than M2, then you want to just return S1. Sorry, you want to return M1 S1. Else, you want to return M2 S2. Is this logic clear? Because you want to compute the max, whichever is the max, you want to return the witness corresponding to that. Okay. Now you notice that you are just doing M1, M2 here comparison, but then you are never you're not doing anything else. So you might as well just say right. So you can mildly simplify this by saying that this is some v1, let us say, some value 1 and value 2, or as we called it there, we call this up and we call this left. Okay, and then all you are doing is, if first of up is greater than first of L, then up, else L. It is the same thing that we did earlier, except I have just written it like this. And I'll write where. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but this is when you do it in, this is when you do the normal recursion, where you're doing it in terms of head and tail. If you do it in terms of init and last, what will happen? You are checking whether the last letter matches, right?
Yeah.
In that case, you cannot just say y colon s naught. You have to put it at the end.
I mean, like S naught. And
Plus
then,
plus y.
yeah.
Right. But doing plus plus so many times is inefficient. So what I'm doing is I'm doing y colon s naught even there, and finally reversing the answer when you present it here. So finally it will return some m comma s, right? I will reverse that value. Okay. So that is what I have done here. If you see, I have at some, yeah, this is the thing.
Oh, so why there is the last element? That's how you define. Right.
Yeah, instead of adding it as a last element, I will add it as a first. So I will be constructing the thing in reverse really. Every time I need to add a new letter, I'll add it to the front, even though it actually goes to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally present the common subsequence, I have to reverse the.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you understand it now?
Hmm.
Okay, let me copy this. Let me. Yeah, this is our official LCS. Which, yeah, so the same, so that is what I'm doing here. You look at it. Okay, I'm doing n comma s is the last of LCS tab, which was what I did originally. But then you take the last of LCS tab and then reverse the string part of it. Because I have constructed the string here by adding b to the front rather than at the end. Okay, that is some minor this thing, but I mean it is still whatever little savings you can do will help. Okay, this is really the point. So now, after having done all this, okay, so yeah, I can call this LCS fast. This is for LCS DPA, dynamic programming version. This is the, yeah, that's all there is to it, and I can implement this also. And I can see now, compare the time that it takes. Yes, so LCS of, I don't know, unless you give me a new example, I will. This is for my small example. Yes, you see that it gives 4 and EJA. This turns out to be a reasonably small example, but what if I give me some other string? That AB nonsense that we had now. Oh, why is it happening so quickly? It ought not to happen so quickly. Am I doing something wrong? Yeah, I hadn't compiled it. Okay. So this will take forever. Okay. I'll abort it and do the DP version first. In case you are confused about what is happening, it is. Yeah, this is what I meant. This is what I'm evaluating. LCS of this whole string and that whole string. Okay. I'll do the DP version first. Oh, nice. It returns immediately. Okay. But if I do LCS of the same thing, then it will. It will take forever. Okay. I don't know if it will take forever. I have not run it till now, because now I am also trying to construct a string, you see. Okay, so I think that is all we will have time for. I thought I could do another example, but that would be overkill. What I'll do is I'll try to generate a new assignment, and in that assignment, I'll one problem will be that new thing that I want to talk about, where I will give you lots of steps, and I'll ask you to do the final few steps. Or I'll see. Yeah. Okay, I'll just give you a bonus write-up of that another problem. You can just read it for your own interest. But I'll give as problem for your assignment, I'll give some other things. Which might be simple. So I think that ends the class. So you can ask me questions. I'll try to answer while this program tries to compute. Okay.
Sir, you said that you will give problems similar to this one, right?
Yeah, I'll give problems similar to this one, because I have another problem. Okay, this is the problem I wanted to do today, but I mean, it is okay. It doesn't matter if I couldn't do another new problem in a hurried manner. Okay, it is best to do one problem slowly. Okay, this is one of the first non-trivial programs you are writing in this course, right? So it is good to go over it fully. Even though the final end product is just some 5 lines, it is good to realize that this is a reasonably complex kind of program. The other problem that I had in mind is a very nice one. Think about it. So you are given a sequence of let's say numbers, and you want to find out the length of the longest ascending subsequence. Your numbers can go zigzag, whatever, in any order, but you want to find the length of the longest ascending subsequence.
And we are given a string.
What?
Are we given a string?
You are given any list that can be ordered, list of elements that can be list of
Oh, okay.
type A where RD holds.
Okay.
I mean,
We have
even
to
coming
find-
up, even you can even come up with the naive solution first. Even that is a little bit of thought, and then you should come up with the DP version of it.
Sir, I didn't get the question. Can you repeat once?
So you're given
what's
a
the longest?
Yeah, you're given a list of elements of type A. The elements of type A can be ordered. Okay, so there is a notion of ascending sequence, right? Ascending subsequence. Strictly ascending subsequence, meaning you pick out
Yes,
some xi, xj, xk, etc., I less than j less than k less than whatever. So you pick out those elements such that those elements are in order, strictly increasing order. And it's a reasonably non-trivial problem, because you cannot just go and say, oh, I have found an element, I will fix this. Okay, because if you fix this, you might not be able to pick a later element. So you need to always make a choice. Do I fix this? Do I take this element to be in my sequence, or do I drop it? If I take this, what is the ascending sequence? If I drop this, what is the ascending sequence? So you have two options always. Okay. Oh, in fact, while we wait for this to finish, we can write the program for it, the naive program at least.
No,
Yes, yes.
sir, can we do it on our own, sir?
Yeah, sure. You can do it on
Yes,
our own.
sir.
Okay, good, great. Okay, good. Try to do it on your own. Just the naive solution first. Okay, in which case I can just, I can give you similar things for your assignment of the naive solution. Of course, it will not work for these things, but then at least for one of those, I'll ask you the DP version. Okay, so that you can do this. So I'm sorry, this doesn't end. It is 3:30. I don't want to hold you back any longer. So I will, if it ends, I will send you how long it takes on your Moodle message or whatever. Okay, or you can just go and try this out yourself, the non-DP version. Okay, this version I have included, I think, even in the LC like 15.hs that I uploaded last week. Okay, so you can just go pick it up and just do it. Okay, run it on your own and see how long it takes on your computer. This is the sample. Some random, some 22 whatever, some long 22 times, I suppose. This is AB repeated, and then some bunch of B's, A's, B's, A's, whatever. I mean, for why does it take long here? Because the point is that there are lots of things which so there are lots of B's, and then the moment you skip an A, you get another B. So the X equal to Y clause is satisfied. So right, so you do so this is satisfied, but there is also a lot of cases where the two things differ. Okay, this is the more important point. There are lots of cases where there are lots of B's, and then there are these differences that keep on occurring. So you have to all the time go to the other case. You have to go to the not equal to case, and then one recursive call will be the equal to case. Then its recursive call will be the not equal to case. Its recursive call will be the equal to case. So such a thing keeps alternating, and such patterns will actually consume a lot of resources. I think there is no more point in trying for you to wait for this. So if there are any questions, please ask me. In the next class, I was thinking of starting something completely new today, but it is not right to. It was good that we spent enough time on this. In the next week, we will start with something important that we have not touched upon till now, which is IO. Okay, we have written expressions and it returns values on GHCI. But what if you want to produce an output on screen? What if you want the user to input something which the programmer processes? Okay, so that kind of thing is called IO, input output, and this will see input output meaning user input and user output, not just in GHCI, even outside of GHCI. Okay, so we'll look at that. Okay, and then you will see why this main program is useful. I mean, till now main was not useful. I included this main only because otherwise Visual Studio Code will keep complaining. something is missing. That is why I included this. Okay, but then once we get to input output, you will see that I'll actually be using main, etc. Okay? So we'll do conceptually new stuff as well as this. But meanwhile, by the weekend, I'll give you another assignment so that you get more practice with this kind of problems. Okay. Okay. See you. Bye then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
See you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry this didn't end before we could end the class. When it ends, I'll send you. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
So in your main,
I have a main. No.
no, sir. So in that main line you wrote,
Yeah, in that main.
in the main line you wrote in the program. So there was some bit symbol between getString line and putString line.
This thing. Okay, so the reason I wrote this, I needn't even have written this. This is a useless thing. The only reason I wrote this is so that I can show off this symbol. I can show off this font. Okay, this is actually greater than equal to. Okay, you will never need to use it as part of the course. But this is such a nice symbol that I just put it. Okay, don't worry.
Okay, so
Okay, it is just greater than equal to, but this font, it just fuses them together. Okay, this thing is called bind in Haskell. Okay, go if you are later, maybe after we do IO, you can look. Maybe I'll introduce what bind is. Okay, so here you can see this, right, where it there is a pop-up where it shows something. Hello.
Sir, you aren't sharing.
Sorry. I wasn't sharing this thing. Sorry. I'll share it again. Sorry. Yeah. 1 second. Just give me a second. I'll share this and then we can stop. Sorry for prolonging this a little bit more. Yes, this symbol is what you asked about. But when I go there, yeah, you can see this, right? The pop-up. Yeah, it says A is greater than equal to B. Okay, forget it. So you don't need to understand it right now. We'll do all that next week or the next. Okay, the next 3-4 lectures we'll be doing IO and related stuff. Okay, and you will get to see all. Okay, fine, good. Thank you then. Yeah, once again. See you. Bye. Have a nice weekend.